When I was a child growing up, my dad had this phrase that he would often repeat. He said this so many times, I could never forget it. I still remember 30 years later. And as I was watching this interview yesterday between LeBron James and Pat McAfee, this worshiping that Pat McAfee did at the feet of his Lord and risen King, as I was watching this interview, I could repeatedly hear the words of my father when I was growing up. You never send a boy to do a man's job. Truer words have never been spoken. You never send a boy to do a man's job. There is a reason LeBron James specifically chose Pat McAfee for a rare interview. Some would say that LeBron James was being petty. It was his way of getting back at Stephen A. Smith, which is true. That's true. That's definitely part of it. Patty comes on right after First Take, where he immediately loses 50% of Stevie's audience. From a numbers perspective, it makes no sense for LeBron to appear on a smaller television platform. But the self-proclaimed king, he wasn't worried about the numbers. He was worried about safety. You got to remember, everything LeBron James does is calculated. Everything he does is well thought out. LeBron has never been accused of being a dummy. By appearing with Pat McAfee, LeBron James knew that he would be in a safe space. Many people are praising Pat McAfee this morning, Stephen A. Smith included. They are praising Pat McAfee for landing an interview with the self-proclaimed king. They are praising Pat McAfee for how he conducted and handled this interview. I'm not one of those people. Me personally, I thought this interview was a missed opportunity and a massive disappointment. I thought the interview further proved that Pat McAfee can't be taken seriously. There is a reason Pat McAfee is appealing to a younger demographic. There's also a reason that Pat McAfee is unappealing to most grown-ups. During his prime, Howard Stern was one of the best interviewers in the media. You want to talk about a real king? I'm not talking about fake King LeBron James, or as Shannon Sharpe prefers to call him, hey, it's me, Shay Shay. As the grown man who, for reasons that are still unknown, calls himself Shay prefers to call him, LeBron is my billy goat, ooga, ooga. You want to talk about a real king? When Howard Stern was in his prime, he was the king of all media. Celebrities would be terrified to make an appearance on the Stern Show. Howard Stern had this unique ability to get people to open up. He had this ability to make you forget that you were talking to millions of people. Now, in his defense, Pat McAfee has never had that ability. He has never promoted his show as something it's not. The Pat McAfee Show is a collection of dudes in their 30s and 40s who act like they're still in their 20s, which is fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also the reason LeBron James specifically chose his platform. This decision was another in a long line of weak moves by LeBron James. For weeks now, LeBron has been engaged in this catfight with Stephen A. Smith, a catfight that LeBron James started himself, a catfight that I now believe LeBron James set up and orchestrated on purpose. Whether you love him or hate him, there's one thing you can't take away from Stephen A. Smith. The dude ain't hard to find. Recently, Stevie and Ben Shapiro, they have been going back and forth about George Floyd. They were throwing shots at each other. They were criticizing each other on their own platforms. Earlier this week, though, you know what they did? Like men, they looked at each other face to face and they debated their points, settled their differences for half an hour. Stevie had a problem with Benny. Benny had a problem with Stevie. So they came together like men and settled the issue. LeBron James clearly has a problem with Stephen A. Smith, the same Stephen A. who is on live television 2 hours every morning on ESPN, same Stephen A. who has a platform 3 days a week right here on YouTube, the same Stephen A. who has stated on multiple occasions that he was willing to appear on a platform of LeBron's choosing. But instead of doing that, LeBron James, he chose to appear with Pat McAfee? Why? Well, for starters, this is par for the course with LeBron James. Passive, aggressive, weak behavior. But the main reason is, as a father, LeBron James knows the same thing my father taught me. You never send a boy to do a man's job. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. This morning on the second channel, we highlighted another classic case of the woke turning on the woke. Holly Rowe from ESPN has been portrayed by deacons at Woke United Methodist. She violated the first woke commandment, thou shalt not commit mythical racism. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Look, this video is not meant to criticize Pat McAfee. When I say never send a boy to do a man's job, I mean that metaphorically. I'm not disrespecting Pat McAfee or trying to emasculate him. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying this issue with LeBron James, it is not Pat McAfee's place. This conversation should have been had with Stephen A. Smith. Like I said, Pat McAfee has never portrayed himself as something he's not. He's the goofy guy who isn't meant to be taken seriously, which is why Uncle Casey and most grown-ups don't watch or take him seriously. But even with that being the case, he didn't have to pathetically pander to LeBron James. Every time LeBron opened his mouth and displayed his veneers, Pat McAfee was uncontrollably laughing. You know, Pat, I really like my coach, J.J. Redick. Oh, King, you're so funny. Can I worship the bunion on your feet? Oh. The laughter was damn sure uncontrollable when they briefly mentioned Stephen A. Smith. About 15 minutes into the interview, either LeBron or Pat McAfee mentioned Stephen A. I guess LeBron thought this was his cue to make a funny. Problem is, there was nothing funny about it. Watch for yourself.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're watching it. Yep. We're all seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
We're all, you're seeing it as well.
He literally, it started off with, I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it. But since the video came out, I feel the need to address it. If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you can address it, it's your ass. He completely, missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players. And I know that he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
Oh, Taylor Swift tour. What the hell is so funny? What are you laughing at? Matter of fact, why are you wasting your time fake laughing when you could be asking a follow-up question? Could be asking a question that people actually want to know the answer to. Hey, LeBron, I appreciate you appearing on my platform. I really do, but why us? You have a problem with Stephen A. Why not just appear on First Take? Why not appear on his platform? Now, of course, Pat McAfee was never going to do that because Pat McAfee doesn't want to upset his king. I watched the entire interview. I wasted 70 minutes watching this worship service. The pandering to LeBron was absolutely pathetic. And this was not the only time that Pat McAfee refused to push back. At one point, LeBron James was subtly blaming the media for the negative perception of the NBA. He mentioned Brian Windhorst, and for those that don't know, Brian Windhorst is one of the premier reporters in the NBA. I don't praise too many people at ESPN. It is rare for me to compliment anyone at the worldwide leader in woke, but Brian Windhorst, he is one of the very few that I respect. Not only that, Brian Windhorst has been overly complimentary and defending LeBron James since he was in high school. How did LeBron James repay the favor? Watch for yourself.
Like I seen Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago. Like a
Wendy.
Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high
Yeah,
school
this
team.
guy was like, says he's like my best friend. These guys are just weird. But
Wait,
Wendy.
What the-
He wasn't on- isn't that your? Isn't that- That's not real.
Yeah, it was our forcer, huh?
Is it any wonder why Pat McAfee isn't respected by his colleagues? Is it any wonder why Pat McAfee isn't taken seriously? Instead of checking LeBron James, Pat McAfee is once again laughing like a doofus when ain't shit funny. It is not the media's fault that the public has a negative perception of LeBron James. And you guys know Uncle KC is not a defender of the mainstream media. But this is one of those rare instances where I will defend the media. It is not their fault that there is a negative perception of the NBA. This was another missed opportunity by Pat McAfee to ask questions that people want answers to. How come he didn't ask LeBron about his last-minute decision to sit out of the All-Star game? How come he didn't ask LeBron about his unwillingness to compete in the dunk contest, a decision that ultimately ruined the dunk contest? How come he didn't ask LeBron about player empowerment and how it's destroyed the NBA? How come he didn't ask LeBron about embracing mythical racism, which is the biggest stain on his legacy, and it's a mistake that the league has never recovered from? How come he didn't ask LeBron how he felt to be the first face of the league who is going to leave the NBA in worse shape than it was in when he was drafted? You know why those questions didn't get asked? It's the same reason that LeBron James chose Pat McAfee for this interview. LeBron knew it would be safe. He knew that Pat McAfee would be intimidated or just unwilling to ask the real questions. Last night, Stephen A. Smith responded to LeBron James for over an hour. Now, everyone is focusing on the fact that Stevie said he would have swung on LeBron if their altercation had gotten physical. I mean, who cares? None of that matters. The main premise in Stevie's response was that LeBron James is a liar. To quote him verbatim, LeBron James is full of shit, which is true. I agree with Stephen A. I have agreed with Stephen A. throughout this month-long catfight. Matter of fact, Stephen A. Smith alluded to something last night that I hadn't thought about. During his altercation with LeBron, as LeBron is walking away, he looks directly into the camera. Watch it for yourself. What Stephen A. Smith is alluding to is that this could all be a setup. I would not be surprised if that were the case. The entire premise, though, of his response was that LeBron James is a liar. Well, no shit. We've all known that for years. But let me ask you something. Where was this same energy when LeBron was embracing mythical racism? Where was this same energy when LeBron James was kneeling for the national anthem? Where was this same energy when LeBron was destroying the NBA? We have been calling out this behavior for years. How come it took a personal altercation with LeBron for Stephen A. Smith to finally wake up? Right now, Stephen A. is finding out that his pretend friends in the mainstream media ain't real. I'm sure Nick Wright at FS1 will blindly defend LeBron. I'm sure the other LeBron worshipers will defend their king. But to me, this ordeal with Stephen A. Smith, it has exposed LeBron James. This dude thinks he's above criticism. He thinks he's worthy of nothing but praise. And he's going after Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. refuses to comply with the mandated worship. But he won't go after Stephen A. face to face. LeBron's not going to do that. He would rather appear in his safe space with Pat McAfee, where LeBron James knew he would be allowed to throw the rock and hide his hand. Give me your thoughts on this. LeBron James makes a calculated appearance with Pat McAfee to address Stephen A. Smith. Did this expose LeBron James? Is he afraid to confront Stephen A. face to face? Who do you agree with here, LeBron or Stephen A.? Also, am I right or wrong about Pat McAfee? Do you watch Pat McAfee? Can he be taken seriously? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.